Hi.
Hi. I'd like to welcome you to the LUND-HOEL HOUSE. We are historic restoration. Our corporation is called MECA, which means Museum Encompassing Canby Community Area. And I've had our house since 1976. The house was built in 1891 by John Lund, the landowner. He gathered the fieldstone fence rock from the area of fields. It was built in 1900 and we have had it restored. The rocks are evidence that the glacier of the north of the continent was rock here, and this was where the glacier ended. Come on into the house. John Lund's house has lovely wood. Mrs. Lund is most interested in the exterior view of the house. She really likes to have it look wealthy and fine from outside. So if you'll come in and register, you have to do it. You're looking into our front hallway. All wallpaper and wall coverings, floor coverings, and everything have been restored as near to the original as possible.
Wow, that's a cool car.
You kind of know what you're expecting to see and view, so that you can kind of have a look at. The history of the house began in 1891 when John Lund, a land dealer, built the house in only 49 days. The reason he was able to do this was he was very wealthy. All the materials were brought by rail from Minneapolis. And he built the house, planted the trees. It was advertised as being a very fine residence, but this is the 49-day house. And during the first years, from 1891 to 1901, Mrs. Lund continued to add balconies and towers and porches until the house looked as it does today. When Mrs. Lund left the house in 1901, all of the porches, balconies, gingerbread work, walls, and everything were completed. Something else of interest is that John Lund, the land dealer, sold land coast to coast. He had this insignia on boxcars, and he traveled, that it was advertised, Lund Land, Canby, Minnesota, coast to coast, the garden paradise of the world. He became very wealthy selling land. And he left the house in 1901 and sold it to his wife's brother. The minister and his family had 8 children. The Lunds, the builders of the house, had none. With the 8 children in the house, they had, and this is the family, these are the family portraits, they used the house and had it, every corner of it was a part of the family activity. The pastor and his wife entertained here. People were married in the house. Many activities. It became a very social activity, an active house. The rose window that you're viewing here has lovely sunlight through it. All the windows in the house are the originals of the 1891 building. Mrs. Lund seemed to enjoy her beautiful windows. She also liked to match her wallpaper to the windows. When we started restoring the house, we would strip the wallpaper down to the bottom layer, soak it in warm water, peel off the layers, find Mrs. Lund's sample, and then purchase the wallpaper that would most match it. One of our nicest copies of wallpaper occur in this room. This is the original, and this is the paper that we chose to use. As you see, the paper here goes on into the next room. A restoration demands that you try to restore it to as near as you can to the original builder's intention. Now that we are listed on the National Register of Historic Sites, any kind of replacement of siding or anything has to be just a partial replacement. We need to keep everything as original as we possibly can, and we are listed on the National Register. The parlor is appointed with a nice horsehair settee and chair. Anything with a red bow belonged to the family, to the Lund or the whole family, and we're very lucky to have many of the original furnishings in the house. The family Bible in the next room, the rocking chairs. This is the piano that belonged to Nella. the youngest daughter of the family, and Nella gave piano lessons here. When we got the house as a museum, she walked through the house with us and told us that indeed her father's library table stood right here in the center of the room, and many people were married by this table, that she taught piano lessons in this house. She was kind of an old lady, old maid of sorts, because she stayed and cared for her parents until their death. Many things have been donated to the house, like the lovely Busy Bee talking machine on this table. It says in the Canby News that in 1907, the Busy Bee talking machine was given free to anyone who shopped at the Larson's department store and bought $40 worth of merchandise. But at that time, $40 worth of merchandise was a sizable amount. The rose painted table and many things are given by people of the community. We're very fortunate to have found all of the gas lightings, the original gas fixtures. They're not operable, but they are throughout the house. Nella, when she left the house, she was the youngest daughter and had the last ownership of it, took everything that belonged to her family with her to Minneapolis. She had things shipped by rail to Minneapolis, and I think she must have told them to take everything that was not nailed to the property. We found there one of the gate posts for the iron gates outside. We found some of the stalls for the manger in the carriage house. She had taken all of the heavy furniture. Everything that was about the house was taken, because as the minister's youngest daughter and in charge of the family's possessions, I think she probably felt that it was very important that she really take good care of them, that she not leave anything behind. One of the nicest instances and best stories of that, if you come with me back to the front hall, and I think you will get your best look if you go this way and let the light shine through it. This door had collapsed and its leading had completely come out. Nella had the door in probably the 1930s laid on a piece of board to save the glass. When she left the house in the late 30s, the glass was moved to Minneapolis. And we found it on a board in 1980, and we had it reassembled, and look at the lovely window we have. You realize that we have a nice little peephole, and this is just how nicely they save things in the house. Gorgeous big thing.
Beautiful.
Yes, it is. And it was, you wouldn't believe it, it had dust this thick on it. It was just laying on a board in pieces. We had no idea what it was going to be. This is our family dining room. We have 2 curved windows in the house. The curved glass windows are rare and quite nice. The splicing of the wood at the top shows how they would make the curved windows. And curved glass at that time was pretty much, it made it look like it was really a fine home. The water server and table belonged to the family, as did the tea set that is on the dining room table. We purchased these things at the estate sale. We have Reverend and Mrs. Hull's silver napkin holders. And again, the red bows would indicate that we have the original dining room furniture. Very lovely Bradwork dining room set with the leather bottom chairs. Mrs. Lund might have greeted guests and served dinner parties here. The Hulls needed the whole dining room for their family. Because servants would have served dinner in this room, we have a spring-hung door so that a maid might bring dinner to the table and return dirty dishes without assistance. And so you'll find 3 large doors like this with a heavy spring. One of the oldest pieces we have in the house happens to be a small pitcher. It was given to us by a family that just wanted it to be in a safe place. This pitcher came on the Mayflower and was given to our house. People do take a strong interest in the house as a museum. We have some of the original writings, and the lady says, "My mother of American birth was of English descent, and her great-great-grandmother came to this country on a voyage of the Mayflower that brought the Pilgrim Fathers to our country, subscribed by the King of England and so forth. But she wanted the picture to be someplace that it would be appreciated. We have other dishes that are of good interest. When you had a house, and they thought this was a grand house, of this type, they would make dishes that would have a picture of the house on them. And we have sauce sets and pictures and things with the insignia of the LUND-HOEL house. It says a residence in Canby, Minnesota, but it was indeed made by the Wheelock China Company, made in Germany, for the bargain store of Canby, Minnesota. So it was sold as kind of, a souvenir of the town. But we have many pieces. Others are over here on the table, and you might be able to get a nice view of them there. We were lucky enough to have Nella walk through the house with us after we had it as a museum. Nella was about 80 years old when she came through the house with us. And she reaffirmed for us that the house was, arranged as it is. She took us into the kitchen and she said that area always had two stoves. There was the old cook stove, the wonderful old Monarch, and this is not the original, but a stove like this would have sat here, where you could burn coal or cobs or wood, put directly into the firing area. And on cold days like this, you would use this stove. It would serve as an oven. It could bake waffles. The warming oven, if Dad was late for dinner, you would keep the dinner here and it would not burn. This would be a hot water heater, the reservoir. You could do your ironing, the irons, because there was no electricity when the house was built. And so your iron would be heated on the stove, and if one cooled off, you would replace it with another. Ironing your silk blouses, of course, had been an adventure at the time. Grandma would light, and if it sizzled, you'd know it was a little bit hot. Warming stones were even heated on the stove. This is a warming stone that might have been wrapped in a towel, carried up to your bed, put in the foot of your bed to keep your toes warm on cold nights. A larger warming stone, as we were using for our door stop here, would have gone out into the sleigh or the carriage for a sleigh ride to keep your toes warm. If you notice the flooring throughout the house, it's wide pine boards. Mrs. Lund did not spend a lot of money on her interior flooring, and she was not too careful about the additions that she made to the house. As she added balconies and porches and extra rooms on, if they didn't quite fit inside, it didn't make a lot of difference. She wanted to look nice outside, though. So she didn't put her money into flooring. Nella told us we had the cook stove for cool days, and they had the most modern thing with their gas lighting, and this is an unusual gas light that you see up here, especially for a kitchen area. Gas lighting and the gas stove, and this is a great old thing. This is the original gas stove installed by John Lund. It's a lovely big thing if you come this way.
Is this for the server team?
There were not living servants, no. It's the kitchen set. This is the original gas stove that John Lund installed. And he made his own gas. He had his own gas plant out underneath the carriage drive. And we do have the holding tanks. And how they made gas, I'm really not sure. They had some kind of a recipe of, natural materials and some chemicals. But the gas stove that was here in the house, Nella had hauled to Minneapolis, and we found it in the garage in Minneapolis. As a museum, we are very fortunate to have original furnishings. And then, of course, the stories that go with them that Nella brought to us. This is our back pantry area, and we've decorated it with just the assortment of artifacts that people give us, like the old cans and the old jars. There was an outside well. The water was pumped by the windmill, but they would have had an inside table pump too. The wainscoting, the white wainscoting, was as it was, at that time. It was never, colored any color but the white. And here we have our old butter churns.
Made their own butter too.
And the coffee grinders and all the different things they would have used. Some of the old sweepers and ironing boards. And in the house we have 3 etched windows, and this is the nicest etched window, and this will be a challenge for you to get on your video camera because you have to turn it just right so you can see the etching, and I don't know that I can help you with that at all. That's the stag and deer, and the etched windows are really neat. Okay, maybe you can.
This is a good point.
There it is.
Good thinking, Laurie.
Class ingenuity.
Good job.
We knew you went to college for something.
This little back porch was enclosed and built by Mrs. Lund probably to house something like the old Thor washing machine. This is a combination of a small motor and electric driven machine. It was hand wringer and then had a little motor that would drive the other wringers. The water was out in the outside edge of the barrel, and you would put the clothes into the hopper like this and probably do 3 or 4 loads of clothes, you know, in the lighter colors, and then do several loads of darker ones and wash the rugs. And perhaps at the end of the laundry time, just pull the stopper and let it run into the flower bed outside.
How old is that thing anyway?
This is like early, I'd say 1919 or so, not as old as the house, but pretty old. Notice again that she added and enclosed the porch, but she left the outside siding. This was definitely one of the outside doors, an exterior door in the original dwelling with its fancy, you know, decorative area. Back here we have an assortment of things like every rug in the house can be taken out and beaten with a rug beater. This is a bread riser, an old copper kettle. This is called a pie saver. This is a little bread box, a little aluminum bread box. And you would put your bread in there to keep the little critters out. An old feather duster for light housekeeping. And here you have a lovely oak ice box.
Ice box. I would have never guessed that's an ice box.
Well, the carriage drive that you see outside this door was the original carriage drive. Ice would be harvested from the ponds of the area in the wintertime. They'd dig out, cut out the ice, and they'd store it in barn cellars. And then in the summer, the iceman would come up the carriage drive. He'd deliver ice to the back door. The lady of the house could purchase the ice. A large block of ice would go inside here. The drip pans to catch the meltings would be here, and you would have this much for cool storage. So if you had, because there was no electricity, so if you had a large bucket of cream or a watermelon, you would put it out in the tank by the windmill to cool it, because you just didn't have cooling space. But ice was delivered probably once or twice a week, and this is an oak ice box.
What they do for the summer.
Yep.
Okay. The minister that lived here and his wife, we got their furnishings. This is Reverend Hole's buffalo coat that he wore on cold winter days when he went out visiting his parishioners. And this is Mrs. Hole's good black wool coat with its muskrat fur lining. The family left these things for us at the estate sale, and we purchased them for about $25 a piece. We'll step into the only bathroom in the house. You will view the original bathtub. This bathtub sat outdoors on a slab of cement with dirt and petunias planted in it for the first 20 years that I lived in Canby. When we got the house as a museum, we realized that this was indeed the original bathtub that belonged to the house. So we did some restoration on the fancy feet. We did not have to do anything. The wonderful inside of the tub, the old cast iron is excellent. And when Nella came through the house, she told us there were little birds painted on the outside of the bathtub when she was a little girl, so we had a local artist, Lou Eddy, paint the little birds on the side of the tub. We found a small sample of the flooring underneath the cupboard in this room, and no one could or would have the tile flooring. So a man named Sim Melzer and Roy Rondo hand cut and hand set the tile floor. They used a little pattern. They bought sheets of tile of the 3 colors, just pieces, and they hand cut and hand set the tile floor. It took the most of a summer, a lot, there's many labors of love in the house. One very fortunate thing for us as we got the house was that no one ever painted over our nice wood. I'm going to show you the water closet now. It was indeed a private and the only bathroom in the house. No one, in all the time that people lived in the house since 1891, or 104 years, has ever, painted over our wood or destroyed our windows. Our next room is the family library. See picture that I showed you that was here from the time of the Mayflower, was given to us. This is one of the older items in the house. This is a clock that dates back to 1856, which is pre-Abraham Lincoln's presidency, just about that time. And that's a very old clock. Here you have an old radio, a 1922 radio and speaker. Again, many of these things are gifts to the house. An old kerosene lamp, it's rather unusual, and a kerosene lamp above. We've made this into our office area, and the parcels on the table indicate that somebody again has dropped something off for us. We keep track of our gifts on our Rolleiflex, and this is an old library case that was purchased by the Federated Women's Club. We gave it to the Canby community. It was in a store downtown, and people could borrow books from it. It says the best reading rooms in the United States are in the homes of the American people. The case traveled from the downtown stores to the county museum, back to our local public library, and has now been given to our house. It was not original to the house, but it's a lovely and unique piece of furniture. The portraits up above and behind you here are of Reverend and Mrs. Hole, and we purchased these portraits. This is the builder, not the builder of the house, but the old minister and his wife who lived here in the house. And now if we'd like to walk on back through the living room area, I'd like to show you one more thing before we go upstairs. The 49-day house would have stopped right here with just a small plain room. When Mrs. Lund added onto the house, she added the curved glass windows, the windows here, the bay windows above, the tower, and balconies. And we can see in the wear of the flooring where the 49-day house stopped. You see where the rug has worn right here. And we'll be able to see that upstairs. The fieldstone rock in the basement will also show that this was the original structure, and all of the back part of the house and the front balconies were there. That rug here is a temporary saver of our carpeting. When Ella left the house, she took this piece of carpeting with her, and it was rolled up in the carriage, up in the attic in the house in Minneapolis. It was hand bordered and sewed to fit this room. Nowadays we would leave it in our home because it would not fit anyplace else, but she took it along with her, and we have it for the museum. Okay, let's head up the back stairs and come down the front. Again, our stair wood is very, very unique and pretty. She did not do an awful lot of expensive wood, but she did put in nice banisters and beautiful outside windows and balconies. Both ways, the additions put onto the house would have been little balconies like this. If you come back into the back,
Okay.
as she added rooms on, she did not even pay attention to what the inside looked like. She would have funny little corners like this. This is the holding tank for the hot water heat, which was very modern. And this is access to one of the 3 attics in the house. There are 3 attics that she added on. She just closed one attic off and added another. Bedrooms. This is, or one of the many bedrooms. This is one of the 3 secretaries we have in the house, and this is one that belonged to the family. A secretary is a fold-away desk, and we have one downstairs in the living room, and this one up here, and another in another bedroom. This one would have been the secretary that belonged to the whole family, and again indicated by the red bow. The iron brass spread that you see here is one of the family possessions. The brass has to be polished on this end, especially because people always touch it as they go by. And on the bed we have a crazy quilt that belonged to the family, some old-fashioned hats, and a fur muff that in place of gloves would have been carried to church by the members of the family. There were not closets in the home at this time, but as she added rooms on, little closets occurred. We can have walked through to this room and enter still another bedroom. This bedroom has what we call a spoon-carved headboard. And there was a tool similar to a spoon that would have, gouged the wood shapes. We received the bed, and then we found in the house when we went to the estate sale, the lovely gentleman's chest. It has a mirror. This is the gentleman's top hat and kid glove area, and he would have kept trousers and quilts and things in this drawer. This goes off into one of the 3 balconies, and I'll just let you peek out the window. This balcony would overlook St. Olaf Avenue. When the house was built, it was a two-lane gravel path. We have many clothes that have been given to the house. This is a flapper dress of the 1920s made of silk and ostrich feathers, which were legal to use at that time. The lovely dress that you have here was a ball gown that was used for a formal party in St. Paul. It was given to us by a lady who had it in her home, and it was made for a special ball.
Are these dresses were basically all handmade, or did they have
They
sewing machines?
were done with sewing machines, but they were made by a seamstress, and they were one of a kind. It's kind of interesting to look that they actually used a chambray shirt as a base. And another very interesting thing is there were no deodorants at that time, so they became badly stained all over and used a few times, and the silk, of course, is rotting.
Yeah.
This room does have a closet, and we have many dresses in our house, like 4 or 5, but wedding dresses are going to be a little less than the traditional that we think of. This skirt and waist belonged to Dr. Munson's mother when she was married, and it again was one of a kind. It was sewn and designed by a seamstress for her wedding, and this was her wedding dress because this would be a practical dress and could be worn for her best dress for church for probably the next 4 or 5 years. We also have some old silk dresses of the 1900s. This is a sailor design. It's fun to show our clothes. Historical people from the Historical Society say that we should not have our clothes out and on hangers because they will receive damage. But we have given up the walkways, the ropes, and putting these things away because we really want people to enjoy them. And if you have them stashed away, people cannot actually see them. This is a smoking jacket. Again, it's patchwork quilt that was given to us. The gentleman of the house would come home and take his top coat off, slip into his smoking jacket, and sit down to read the paper and smoke his pipe while dinner was being prepared. Okay, if you step into the next bedroom with me.
I want that.
Here you have a second brass and iron bed, and another wedding dress. This is a black beaded wedding dress, probably 1920s. And again, this would be the bride's best dress for church for many days after that. This is a log cabin designed velvet quilt, and it belonged to the family. Another secretary. That's rather unusual is this leaded glass one. And in this room we have in our secretary a collection of antique paper dowels and antique baby clothes. This is a portrait of Mrs. John Lund. Excuse me. Mrs. John Lund and John Lund. And again, we got these, at the estate sale. We've designed this room as a sewing room because we have this wonderful old Singer sewing machine with its nice wooden cover. They would save the lace and make their own petticoats. We have a wide variety of underwear patterns. They did their own pantaloons and their bloomers and things. And so we've set this area just up as a sewing room. Notice as we leave the curved wall that would give us extra space in the hall. This was very nice. And as you come around the curved wall, you'll come to what we call the mystery door. I teach 3rd grade, and so I tell the kids this is the mystery door, and it really is, pretty much a mystery why anybody would put a door up there without access. Probably when the house as Mrs. Lund was adding onto the house, there were probably stairs and access to that. There was a small 8x10 room there with a colored glass window that was out on the outside of the original house. And when she added this hallway and this extra room, she just closed the door off, made the hallway and came on into the next bedroom.
Very centrically.
This bedroom has a very grand batch of bedroom furniture, but let's step out onto the balcony first and have a look at John Lund's property. When he built the house, he would have built the carriage house, and this Victorian garden is a miniature of what would have been his yard. His yard would have extended throughout the whole block. There were no other houses on the block. When John Lund sold the property in 1901, he sold this immediate lot to his sister-in-law, to his sister and her husband, Reverend and Mrs. Hole, and we built the Victorian garden. The flower garden over there would have been at the center of the block, and the serpentine gravel paths would have extended throughout the whole block. He had put stone wall all the way to the end of the block, and then just around his immediate property here at the back.
Did he own the whole block then?
Oh yes, John Lund was a land dealer. He owned a lot of land. The wonderful bed belonged to the family, and the quilt on the bed was made for our centennial. In 1991, when we celebrated the 100th birthday of the house, Lois Rotenberger and a batch of her quilters, her quilting friends, did traditional quilt designs for the edging, and Lois designed and made the house centerpiece. And we offered the quilt as a raffle to earn money for the house, to pay for the centennial. And when we finished with the raffle, the person who won it was offered 5 $100 bills to return the quilt to the house, and we were lucky to get it back because it's a lovely piece. We have, to go with our bed, to match our bed, we have a nice wardrobe, washstand, and a dresser. This wardrobe has in it some lovely little uniforms. This is an 1887 Canby Fire Department uniform. It's a Canby Hook and Ladder Incorporated. We have the little hat that would match it, and of course the firemen did not wear this to for firefighting. This was their parade dress uniform, but we're very lucky to have them. We have other uniforms also. In my hand I have a pair of spats. Gentlemen wore spats to keep their ankles warm. And on our washstand we have a very complete toilet set. We have the water pitcher and bowl, a water pitcher, a drinking water pitcher, the man's shaving mug, a water saver, the potty that would be under the bed because there was not an upstairs bathroom, and if you used the potty you were in charge of emptying it in the morning. And we have a hair saver. This hair saver was for cleaning hairbrushes and combs. The lady of the house would tuck the hair down inside unless there was hair there. It would stay up and she could just tuck her hair in there, and she would save the hair from her long hair. Many people believed that if your hair were just thrown to the wind that it was bad luck if the birds should get it. Although the ladies usually saved the hair for making hair pieces, for braiding watch fobs, or for making a hair wreath, and I'll show you one of those. Let's duck through the small door. Now this was not a small door because this was a nursery area. The roof line of the original house would have been here, and rather than cutting into the roof line, she just made a low door. As you come on into the room, you'll see that we have another roof line that's just left here within the room.
Watch me hit my head.
If you come on through, you can look back at the old roof line. This room gives you access to the third attic, and the third attic door is just right up here. And as you look at it, again, you see some of the old gas fixtures that were throughout the house. And we have decorated this room as a children's nursery. But Nella told us that it was never a nursery. She said this was a storage area for winter clothes in the summertime, summer clothes in the wintertime. It does have some of the prettiest windows on. You will want to get a good view of the jeweled and leaded colored windows in the room. And then the wonderful beveled glass and leaded windows in this room. It would let in beautiful sunlight. And another etched door. This is the Hunter. This window overlooks City Park. In the room we have a trundle bed, a straw mattress, and many children's toys, some antique children's dishes, baptismal dresses of the 1900s, and a very old dolly dated 1876, and a pram. One of the loveliest beds in the house is in this room. This bed belonged to Mrs. Dahl, who gave it to us, and it's a gorgeous big bed. We have our mannequin here. That's kind of a scary thing. Again, this is a summer wedding dress on our mannequin. Wash bowl. We have some very strange little canvas and leather shoes. The slim little feet would have fit in those. Bertha Ryertson, when she came from Norway, had never been to this house, of course, but we have her trunk. This was her carry-on luggage when she came by ship from Norway. She might have had other things sent behind in one of the big round-topped trunks or chests. I spoke of a hair wreath. This is a human hair wreath. The hair that might have been gathered in the little hair saver or hair retainer that I showed you would have been crocheted, knitted, twisted around wires and formed into flower shapes to make a hair wreath. A hair wreath such as this might have been one lady's hair. It could have been her hair from when the time she was a little girl until she was an older lady, and her hair would have changed colors. Or it could be a family one where you would have hair from little Mary Beth and Aunt Elizabeth and Grandma Betty and you know, all kinds of different people. They have curled their hair before electricity. This is a hair curler. It's an ivory piece that matches the set on the end. When your hair is wet, you would shape the curl and pin it into place, and when it dried, you'd have your curl. A little later, they would have used a curling iron that would have been heated over a kerosene lamp like this. When it got hot, it was a little smoky and sooty, but it would have formed the curls. Old ladies have told us that they had their hair curled like this to go to church, and yes, it would sometimes burn their brows. These are a pair of the original motorcycle glasses, some of the very early motorcycle glasses with the leather sides, and in their original tin case. Other things that have been given to the house that are very collectible are some of the old chain purses, and these are very valuable now. And you find some old, these are cocktail purses. And, of course, the old button hooks. If you had high-top shoes, you would have grabbed the hooks with that. We have one more room. This was the pastor's library. The original 49-day house would have stopped right here, as again you can see the wood lining the rugs. Mrs. Lund added on the bay window, the outside porch at St. Olaf Avenue, and the tower is directly above here. There was never access to the tower. The tower was nailed on the outside of the house for looks. The Historical Society asked us first of all to check to see if there was access to the tower, and there isn't. We have the pastor's furniture in here now, his teaching chair and his Bible and things like that, but when John Lund had the house, this was his billiard room. He had a large billiard table and he entertained his friends here. When Reverend Hull got the house, this was his pastoral study. His daughter told us that he would sit on this little swivel chair and the children would sit on the floor around him, and he teaches confirmation classes in this room. This is his pastoral robe, his little pleated ruff. Reverend Hull served country churches, and so on an evening or a Sunday afternoon, he might get in his horse and buggy, and he'd pack his little ruff into his little tin case, and roll his robe up, take his top hat, and package it in its little hat box, and this belonged to Reverend Hull. We were very lucky to get this. And when he arrived at his rural church, he would take his top hat out, pop it into place, and he would be ready to be in charge of the services. When he was ready to return home, he'd return it to its case, and we shall do. This was Reverend Hull's ministerial desk, and on the desk we have a wedding certificate. It's dated 1895, and we have sketches of Gina Bing and Ole Rude, the bride and groom. The wedding certificate dated 1895 was signed by Reverend Hull. Other things of interest in the room are the diamond willow cane. Diamond willow carving was a craft of the 1900s and 1800s. They would carve the knots up on the wrong side, and diamond willow, like this with many knots, was traditionally a northern, kind of wood. And there was time to do it. So you'll see diamond willow canes like this, in many places. People have old things. We can go down the stairs.
Hold up. We have to get the cameras for Steve.
Oh, yeah. This
Happy
is
to.
This is the family library case, and in it we do have old family pictures of rich people in Canby taking trips to Arkansas and riding mules, and a collection of some old cameras. I don't know if I can help you see those better if you're interested in cameras or not. Not many. Photographic dry plates. I mean, we've got people just give us all kinds of neat things. Okay, I'll take you down the front stairs, and we'll be back where we started. It's kind of strange that rather than putting good wood into the front stair banister, Mrs. Lund had inexpensive wood put here, and she had an artist come out in Minneapolis to ink the grain into the wood. We thought we'd lost our mule post down here because there was kind of just about half of this. And Ella told us, oh no, there was always a little gas lamp at the foot of the stairs when she was a little girl, and so we replaced the gas lamp. Nella was a good and valuable saver. She even saved things like this little bark and tree stand that was probably made by one of her father's parishioners and given to her. I've told you a lot about the whole family. That was the minister and all the children. And we had quite a gathering of that family when we had our 100th anniversary. But Mr. and Mrs. Lund, the builders of the house, were the people that put the original money into the house. John Lund made a lot of money in the Canby area selling land. And that's why our house is very important to the community, because this is how settlement in our area was at least advanced in part. John Lund, when he sold land to people, would meet them at the train, and there were 4 or 5 trains a day coming into Canby. He and 4 or 5 of his friends had little band uniforms, and they wore these little hats. This is John Lund's little coronet, and they gave people a brass band welcome to Canby, Minnesota. He would hire every available buggy in the area and take people out to buy their land, bring them back and wine and dine them at the local hotel, get the papers signed, and send them off to pick up their families and come out and live in Canby, Minnesota. We're very pleased to have been able to give you a tour of the house, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.